Are your teenagers driving you crazy? You're not alone. We can help.
Broadcasting from the Subaru of Gwinnett Studio at the Gas South Convention Center in Duluth, Georgia, it's time to design your life on Status Life with Leta. Status Life with Leta is presented by Derek Hayes Law at 404-777-HURT and by 5 Strands Affordable Testing. Invest in your health at 5strands.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's afternoon time here. I don't know what day or time you're going to listen to the podcast, but as we record, it's an afternoon. We love the day. It's a wonderful, beautiful day outside. And it's even better because we're back in the studio. It's time to do another episode, wonderful episode of Status Life with Leta.
You're back in the studio.
Yes, I am.
You were not here for the last show. It was one of only 2 shows you've ever missed in the history of this podcast.
Yeah, the first time it was sickness. I forgot what it was.
You had the flu.
That's right. I had the flu the first time.
This past time you were in court.
You're exactly right.
You
That's
are
it.
Derek of Derek Hayes Law.
So I had an excuse from the doctor the first time, excuse from the judge the
Yeah.
second time. So
We did.
I think that works.
Anyone that's listened, if you haven't, that was an absolutely fantastic show. My guest, Kristen Andre, and we dug into money mindset as she is a financial coach in the financial planning world. So that was really great just to have her advice and really hear, money mindset. I don't want to say it's the root of everything because we said it on the show, but it is really the root of everything in your life. Money can't buy happiness. I mean, I get all these things, and that's not the show we're going to dig into today, but it helps.
Yeah, I went back and
when you
listened.
can pay your bills and you can, financially support yourself and your level of debt and your level of finances and your retirement and financial security. I mean, stress can come from money. That's providing for your family, the trips you take, the home you live in, the cars you drive. I mean, these are all things that are tied to money, and it's ultimately tied to the mindset behind it.
Yeah, it was a great show. As I said, I went back and listened to it for 2 reasons. One, Kristen's been on the show before. She always provides terrific advice. She's a terrific guest and even has a podcast of her own, but I also wanted to make sure I wasn't going to lose my job.
Right? No, we would never take that from you. You're an important part, a critical part of Status Life with Leta, of me, right?
Yes,
this is a lifestyle
exactly.
podcast.
My
and
spouse.
You are my husband, so you
Exactly.
did not get fired.
And as an important part of my job, I'm also here to talk about following Status Life with Leta
Well,
on all the
thank you.
social media outlets, and I'll let you give the handles for each of those.
It is Status Life with Leta. That is the Instagram handle. That is Facebook. Pinterest, doing a lot on there and building some Pinterest boards about all the must-have things. And I've actually got, which is going to tie into today's show, my teenage daughter at the helm of some of this. And
She's not kidding.
Utilizing
She's
her.
actually paying her an hourly wage to
the
work.
stuff that she put out there was huge. We had
Yeah.
crazy sales because she knows. I mean, bathing suits that I would pick as a 40-something-year-old woman were not the bathing suits that my teenage daughter picks, and they sold like hotcakes,
Yeah.
which
and
is beneficial.
She's into that job too, because she
I
sits at my
know.
desk at
I
home.
gave it to her. It's not yours anymore.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they're little notepads and
Yeah.
and sticky notes of things that she's written.
What is the purpose of the business? I read that. She had
She did.
she was writing out a mission
I didn't know she was
statement.
asking me about my law firm.
Right,
or
right.
about
She might
her
take
job,
it over
but-
one day. You watch out.
Yeah, and at the same time too, I want to talk about the podcast itself. We're on all the major podcast platforms. So I encourage you to go and like the show, follow the show, subscribe to the show. And if you haven't gone back and listened to all the seasons, we're in season 5 currently, please go back and do that. You can see how many topics we've covered over the years now.
I mean, hundreds. We are in the 5th season and so much. We've touched on health, fitness, marriage, divorce. We did a whole series on divorce. We've unpacked the love languages. I'm thinking of some of the books. Alzheimer's care, anything lifestyle. We've unpacked, I was hypnotized. Kilimanjaro, kidney
Yep.
donation. I mean, they're just anything under the sun.
Touched on travel, health. I mean, all the different topics that you can imagine.
Yeah. We went our
spiritual
wedding,
health.
the whole getting married for the second time
COVID.
and blending the family. That was a big one.
Yeah, we were recording during the COVID shutdown. In
I
fact,
had it. If you go back and
That's
listen to that
right, that's what I was
episode,
about
I'm
to say.
coughing through it because
Yeah.
I was really sick in the bed, holding a phone like a little old lady.
Yeah,
But
I was sitting
anyway,
next to you
I
holding that
know.
phone trying to keep from getting COVID myself.
Anyways,
But while we're talking
wow.
about topics and things we've covered, this is a good time, too, to mention if there are any topic recommendations or questions that you all have as listeners, that you'd like to submit, please do, because some of our best shows have come from those recommendations or questions that have been posed.
Absolutely. Send them to me. Status Life with Leta, Leta, at gmail.com. That's the easiest one. I check that email every day. Shoot me a question. Maybe it's not a full topic, but if you have a topic from today's show, a topic from this entire season or an old season, say, hey, can you dig deeper into this? Or what did you mean by this? I would love to be able to answer those questions. And if it's a full topic, I love to grab the experts. I love to do the research. I'm a born communicator, and I absolutely just find so much joy in doing this and putting this content out for all the listeners.
Speaking of which, that's a transition now. What is the topic for today?
Okay. And maybe I'm so exasperated because at home I'm so exasperated. Why am I exasperated, Derek?
I hope it's
not you.
I hope it's not me.
It's not the dog.
It's not the dog. It's not the ferrets.
7 animals that
it's
are
not the
living
cats.
there. Oh, it's
Well,
not.
that leaves the kids, and I
It
think that's the last
is the
choice.
children.
Yeah.
Every parent, we love them with everything that we have, but I have 2 teenagers, and I want to unpack some of this today. And I've always said, I love to be transparent. I love authenticity. I put it all out there. That's the basis of this show. And my best shows are what I'm going through in that moment. And when I was thinking about what the topic was going to be for today, I even said this to you. What are we going through right now? What do we have to unpack?
We're going through some stages.
We are.
And
we're going through 2 different stages at the same time.
For 2 different kids.
2 different kids. They're 2 different sexes, 2 different ages.
2 different mentalities.
And I mean, the amount of energy, time, research, we got to talk about this because it's new for me. They're in their young teenage years. So I'm not at the point where they're into drinking and sneaking out. And those are a whole different set of problems that I know will come with their age. We're talking about 15 and a half, almost 16, and 13. And so I want to stop everybody right here. I'm going to tell some stories, which I love to do. I'm going to tell what's going on at home. If your kids are younger, this is the show for you. Get ready, because this is all going to be what's coming.
Look forward to, right?
And if you're older, just sit back and laugh, and give. And that's where you need to send me your feedback.
And I'll say this real quick too. My kids are 22 and 26, so
Yeah.
I've been through, at that time by myself, that same stage that we're now collectively going through with your 2 kids.
How many times a day do you look at me and say, I remember?
Yeah,
I
I've
remember.
been there, done that.
I've been there, done that.
And the interesting thing is, too, my kids are 10 years separate from hers. Her oldest is now 15. My oldest just turned 26.
Yeah.
Her youngest is just turned 13. My youngest is 22. So there's roughly 10 years separating those. And my oldest is my daughter. Her oldest is her son. But again, that the examples that we're going through now are very similar to the things I dealt with when my kids were those ages.
So send me your advice. I welcome it, right? If you're listening to this and don't think you're not going to get anything out of this.
Yeah, even share your own stories too.
Grandkids, share your stories. This is a show that anyone with children at any age is going to get something out of. So I think we have to start. Who do you want to start with? I was going to say where I think I start.
Well,
I stopped mid-sentence. I'm sorry, because I thought I have my jump-off point. But you're the host.
This is your show, though. So if you prefer, if I were to do it, I would go in chronological order. I would start with the oldest and then go.
I'd go with the one that causes the most trouble.
Well, then that's not the oldest. I think we both agree completely on that. That would be the 13, just turned 13, age-wise.
I had to have a beer at dinner last night.
Attitude-wise,
it had
25,
just been a
26.
week with her. Oh, goodness.
So we'll start
I
with her.
don't drink, and she causes me to. So I don't know. Here we go. All right, you wanna jump off with G?
We can do either one.
We call him G. That's
Yes.
it. We
That is
always
the
call
oldest.
him. That is the oldest. Okay. He's 15. I'm going to describe him if you've got anything else to interject, because we're different. You're stepdad. So
Yes.
you see him, your relationship is different than mom, of course. G is quiet. He is an introvert. He is not an athletic kid by any means. He's a gamer. He's smart, but he's smart with having to put the work in. He has to study. He's not that naturally where she is. She just couldn't study for a test and she would ace it. Everything comes very natural. She's in all advanced classes. And he's never been, and he has to work hard for B's and C's, right? A would be, I was going to say PE, but not PE. But, he's not unathletic. He doesn't have a ton of willpower for athletics. He definitely does not like team sports. We have gotten him with a lot of encouragement. It didn't come from me, but it came from his friends to run cross country. And that has, in my opinion, that has been a godsend.
Well, it's an ideal sport for him.
It is.
Because there's so many kids that are on the cross country team to begin with, including his friends, his closest friends. But it's not, and I hate to say this way, and I don't mean it this way, but it's not quite as competitive as you would have in football or basketball or baseball.
You can say it that way.
In the sense that the top runners are really all they worry about as a team. Because the top 10 kids that finish, my understanding is they're the ones that gain the points.
Right.
But everybody runs the race.
Absolutely. Everybody's at practice. Everybody wears a jersey. Everybody is in the team dinner and the team bus and the team building. And for a kid like Gabriel that's not plugged into athletics, it was a absolute incredible way to get him plugged into high school.
Sure.
Staying after, even last night, he wanted to go to the girls' volleyball game at the high school. And you think, oh, my kid does that. My kid goes to all the games. My kid does not.
No.
He's more withdrawn. He is definitely a homebody. He prefers a lot of time. If you do something with him on a Friday night, he does not want to do anything on a Saturday night. Sure. Where I'm the opposite. You're the opposite. We could go 7 nights a week,
right?
And still be content going. He's very different from me, and you and I are very similar in that. But he not Gabriel. He needs as much time at home, specifically in his room, as he can.
But that's the introvert side.
It is. He recharges his batteries a lot. And I know that about him. I accept that about him. I'm not trying to change that about him, but I am looking at him and saying, but you have to do something. We have to get you plugged in. And, we got the message last night, all the cross country gets to participate in the homecoming parade. That's fabulous for a shy, introverted kid to get to do this as part of a team.
Sure.
So that's the praise, right? That with him... the challenges with him and what we're going to talk about is I don't have an answer medically, but Gabriel is very sick. Why? What is going on with him?
You say very sick. We don't mean like deathly ill.
No,
we mean
he doesn't have
he's sick
cancer,
on a regular basis.
But something is going on with this kid in a way that he catches every single bug, every virus that goes around, sick after sick after sick. He'll be sick for a week and miss some school, and then he'll be better for maybe 4 or 5 days, and then it's something else. But it has been like this for years. I could probably track his entire life. So his challenges are physical. My daughters are different, and that's really more to unpack. But the amount of attention that goes into the vitamins that he needs, the nutrition that he needs. I'm trying to put muscle on him.
Sure.
And getting him physical.
And cross country was part of the exercise.
Had to be.
Of that.
It had to be. I mean, I have paid for training sessions and camps and all kinds of different things just to get him moving because he's not baseball. He's not football. He's not, the soccer. I mean, the bigger traditional team sports. It's never been we've tried them all. We've tried everything from karate. Again, all those big sports, I can't even think of all of them right now. I mean, we've let him dabble in everything. And I don't know that he loves running, but he loves being a part of a team. But then he keeps getting sick. I'm having to document this now because it's so much. It's exasperating. So this is a call to the moms out there. If you hear another mom saying, I have a teenage boy and I can't get him well. I am having blood work done. I got so frustrated 2 days ago. My throat hurts. He threw up at school. I mean, it's everything. Nothing makes any sense. And I called the doctor and I said, I've got to do blood work again. We did it 6 months ago and he was a little deficient in just some vitamins. So now I'm literally researching best vitamins for teenage boys. I mean, I don't know. It's a whole different level of problems.
His shyness too is I don't want to say debilitating. That's not a good way to put it, but it keeps him away from environments where he probably would thrive even more, which is a level of confidence.
Yeah.
That you've got to have. You've got to have that confidence, the ability to, quite frankly, you and I'll walk up to anybody, anytime, anywhere, and talk about anything. Just as a quick story, we'd gone to dinner with some other friends that also have a child that's the son that's the same age, that's also a little bit shy, not quite as shy as G is. But there was a table of girls that were probably 12, 13, 14 years old. And I jokingly said, hey, I'm going to go over there and introduce those girls to you. And if both of them could have crawled into the table at that moment and hidden, they would have. And I was clearly joking.
Yeah.
But in reality, I would have done it.
I know.
But
I would have too.
It scared him to death. No, please don't make me talk to somebody.
It really hurt him. This year is better being a sophomore, but last year it was debilitating. He had a really, really rough start to high school. His shyness, and with the shyness and the lack of self-confidence came some bullying, and that was really hard to deal with as a mom, as a parent. I mean, that bullying could be another complete show, and that would be a show to bring the kids on and let them talk about bullied and being bullied and, you know, what that means. But when your kid is shy, when he's little, when he's skinny, when he's sickly, and he's getting bullied, it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And at the end of this show, we tell the stories at the top, and we sort of segue. I know we're getting ready to take a commercial break, but I want to tell our listeners where we're going to lead this, because if you're listening to this saying, my kid is a bully or my kid gets bullied, maybe you're neutral. Hallelujah if you are. But I've been on both sides of this. My daughter's been in trouble for bullying, and my son has been bullied. Not each other, but through the school system. And at the end is where we talk through all the steps, right? This is a teaching platform. This is a lifestyle platform. So stay with us. We're about to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to unpack my daughter, which is a whole level of tornado. And then we're going to give you guys all the wrap up, where we're going to talk about the steps and, you know, just all the things that we need to do to help the parents and to help the kids through this.
And as we go to the commercial, a quick reminder that Status Life with Leta is sponsored by 5 Strands Affordable Testing. That's the number 5 Strands Affordable Testing. Gain personalized insights on how your body interacts with your diet and lifestyle patterns. All they need is 5 strands of your hair, and you'll receive personalized results to help you reach your health and wellness goals. Visit 5strands.com to learn more.
Tired of experiencing bloating, eczema, diarrhea, or weight problems? Get to the root cause of your dietary discomforts with 5 Strands Affordable Testing. No need to schedule time off work. Just collect and send in 5 strands of your hair to see how intolerant your body is responding to over 600 common food items. Intolerance reactions are not life-threatening like allergies, but are responsible for most daily discomforts. Achieve your dietary and lifestyle goals by visiting 5strands.com and ordering your at-home collection kit today.
Hello, everyone. As a listener of the Status Life with Leta podcast, you already know I'm attorney Derek Hayes. I've been practicing law in the state of Georgia now for over 26 years. My firm specializes in cases involving personal injury, catastrophic injury, nursing home abuse, and any other situation where someone was injured by the negligence of others. As I've said before, if insurance companies ever resolve claims the way they should, I'd be out of a job. But I'm not worried about that happening. Did you know insurance adjusters are trained to pay you as little as possible to protect their company's bottom line? They say they're genuinely concerned about you, but really the goal is to settle the claim with you for far less money than you deserve. My job is to make sure they pay the full value of your claim and nothing less. You can speak directly with me by calling my office at 404-777-HURT. Visit my website at derekmhayes.com. or check out my social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to catch my podcast, Injury Insider with Derek Hayes, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast. I look forward to speaking with you. As we come back to the show, listening to the 5 Strands commercial, it reminds me, we have a personal story about that. We just recently did a 5 Strands for our dog, which they do pets, which is amazing.
Isn't that crazy? You can find out what your pet is intolerant to. Other than this test, and I know there's some different allergy testing and things, there's genetic testing on your dogs, it's dog food. And they don't speak. How on earth are you going to figure out what is bothering them? What is bothering their gut? What is making them chew? What is making them scratch? And it's amazing that they can do this.
Yeah, and it's all about intolerance, not about allergies, but intolerance. And with all that being said, the 5 Strands program for ourselves,
But
we've followed that a lot.
I know we still talk about it. I mean, we talk about it every time we have a show, but we even at dinner, we we go through it. And I've had a lot of friends and listeners even message me, thank you so much, because that information has been life-changing.
Yeah, and too, we'll remind you that if you go to 5 Strands to purchase the program, and please do, use the discount code LETA10, LETA, the number 10, to get 10% off. So definitely go and do that. Well, as we come back into the show, we talked about G to begin with. Let's now transition to the 13-year-old.
Just gonna send
I'll
me
let you
to
go.
an early grave. All right. Before I dig into her as a person, and I think, she's a girl, she's 13. It's a lot. It's a lot. Are you all nodding your head, all you moms whose daughters are a little older and I'm entering into this? I got this, I do a ton of research before every show on the topic. I just want to be as well versed as I can be. Like I said, everything that I'm going through in the moment is what makes the best shows. So I found this little paragraph just trying to understand the adolescent mind. This is from Psychology Today. I'm just going to read through this. During adolescence, young people often break away from their childhood attachments as they try to develop an independent identity. They may adopt and disregard activities, interests, peer groups, and mindsets again and again until they land on a persona that suits them. It's not an easy process, and it takes courage. While trying to figure out who they want to be, they have to manage sometimes bewildering hormonal changes while overcoming constant threats to their self-esteem, including feeling self-conscious about their appearance and body image, perhaps for the first time. That, to me, screams what my daughter is going through.
Yeah.
And being on the other side of it, of course I was a teenage girl. And looking at her, there were so many moments when I remember feeling awkward. I remember feeling angry. I remember feeling out of control. I remember all the things that I'm seeing in her. The frustrating part is being the parent on the other side of this. And for me, almost not knowing who I'm going to get from the morning to the school pickup to before bed. It's just such a roller coaster of change. And sometimes I see her as this confident, brilliant girl. And sometimes I see her, as a blubbering pile in the corner that can't decide what to wear. Mm-hmm. And these moments could be one to the next.
And you say that at one point in your life, you were a teenage girl. It reminds me the other night, we were at a volleyball game, and you may have been sitting there. You may have heard me say this, but I turned to your mom and I said, wow, aren't you glad you didn't have to raise a teenage girl with an attitude? And she just looked at me and started laughing and said, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I was vicious on my mom. I really was. And that, I will say, that has been very eye-opening to me. And I say vicious because I was very mouthy. They used to call my nickname was Mouth. Mouth, short for Mouth of the South. Fitting that I'm now here in radio, right, as the Mouth of the South. Maybe that should be my slogan. No, but I remember feeling all these things, the difference being I don't remember my parents having the understanding of it that I have. I'm not tooting my own horn. What I'm saying is the level that I am pouring into her and spending time with her and trying to navigate this with her. I mean, that's why I'm doing the show. It has been so eye-opening to me, the level of intensity as a parent that I have now at this stage. I don't remember this when they were little. When they were little, it's diaper bags and sippy cups and strollers. It's totally different. Totally
and an
different.
attitude was usually related to not having a nap,
a tantrum, or
something. A snack, something.
This
like
is completely different.
Well, give me some adjectives to describe her now. Let's go with that first.
Okay, I would describe her as headstrong. I would describe her as defiant. Beautiful, tall, difficult. Mm-hmm. With difficult comes challenging.
Sure.
erratic,
Intelligent. I would throw that in there.
extremely intelligent, playful, and yet angry. Just
Confident and then sometimes lacking self-esteem.
all of it. She is. I was going to do the yin and the yang. She's equally as dark as she is light in this moment.
1 minute she'll cuddle up in the bed next to you to watch a show, and I'll come back to the room and she'll tell me to leave because she's watching a show with you, jokingly. But then the next minute she'll be mad.
I mean, she went to bed with hugs and love you guys, and woke up. Don't even look at me. I couldn't even ask her if she wanted chocolate milk or water. Like it, I'm just asking what drink you would like with your bagel.
Right.
And she just spits fire at you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're laughing. Are other parents laughing because they have an older child and they can relate to all this?
Sure. Well, I'm laughing for two reasons. Just that, the fact that I've been there, done that.
Right.
And I did go through lots of those same issues with both of my kids. But then also, too, I'm living this with you.
I know.
And I can see, as you do, those changes.
It's difficult. She's 13. We're at the beginning of this. There is one other layer to this that I feel like is worth mentioning, because Elise, we have been watching her sugar, specifically her glucose levels, for many years, thinking that something was out of whack, noticing that the extreme tantrums and the irritability has been tied to different things that she eats, specifically high carb, high sugar. And when those things, you eat them and your glucose will shoot way up, and then you have the sugar crash. Her crashes are at such a low. I mean, years ago, I think you were first in my life. Remember when she tried to jump into a trash can at Lake Lanier?
I do.
It was bizarre.
Yeah,
She tried to run in the lake, and that was little. But now, it's still as erratic. She drank a red slushie, which she was not allowed to have, by the way. And it was her birthday, and we were at Dollywood. And I looked at her and I said, "You better promise me you're going to tell me the minute you feel the crash. We have to get some better food in. You can't just have a slushie." Well, we didn't catch it in time, and she rode the bumper cars and got some grease on her shoe. She's crying. She's yelling. She punched me in the arm. No judgment here. She's erratic. There's a level of she needs to be able to handle this, and yet partly she can't. This is the low. She had gone on such a sugar high, and then her sugar drops, and what you're left with is just, when I'm saying crazy person, I'm allowed to say that about my daughter, right? I don't want anybody with diabetes or sugar problems to think I'm calling you a crazy person. This is in my home. This is the nearest, dearest person that I love. But her little girlfriends, we brought 3 other girls, and they're all just standing there wide-eyed. Like, they all got grease on their shoes, and they're not in complete hysterics. So that level is exacerbating everything.
Sure, and there's a medical component, just
right.
like we talked about.
We know
with G.
she's hypoglycemic. She tends to run very, very low. She just wore one of those Dexcom monitors for 10 days, and now we have an account of what her sugar looks like. She runs low. I don't think we're going to get a diabetes diagnosis, because in the 10 days, she only went over normal one time. And that was in the middle of a game. She tends to stay under. She tends to run 40 to 60.
Sure.
She'll stay normal, but if it dips, it only dips low.
Right.
And so we do have that we are dealing with.
Yeah, and again, that's the medical component of what's going on with her, just like we talked about the medical component with what's going on with G at this stage in life, which makes it even more difficult to be in adolescence and have those issues going on as well.
Yeah, but from a parenting perspective, what I was trying to touch on, and this is what's making all of this at the forefront for me, this is a time in their life where it is all hands on deck.
Yes.
Right? Dad is a big part of this. He and I are talking, we're divorced, and he and I are talking 3 to 4 times a day.
Right.
Because there is so much to discuss between both kids.
That's a matter of keeping consistency, too. There's a very big component of that as well. In a divorce situation, that both parents are on the same page. Because when you go to one parent, you get one response, and you go to the other parent, you get a different response. Kids will play that game.
Oh, yes.
And so the united front in addressing these things for the kids is imperative.
Yeah. Thankfully, we did a 2 or 3 part series on divorce.
Yes.
And being that this was one of the probably the number one topic I had been asked to speak about was, how do you have such a friendly divorce? How? Please write a book on it, blog about it. So we did a show, and then it ended up, there was so much content, and we brought on an adult whose parents had been divorced, and we had the child's perspective and all the do's and don'ts of what you should do. And so, today's show is not about divorce. Today's show is about the challenges that I'm facing with all of you, and how it is taking a team, and how it is taking more energy to navigate. If my son comes home and he's exhausted and he's sick and he's cried, why am I always so sick? So with him, it's protein shakes, it's vitamins, it's trips to the doctor. That is all time consuming. I am pouring into him. I am taking him to physical workouts. I'm navigating girls with him and how to say this and don't say this. And, he's shy and very immature. That's a great word to describe him. And so, we have to discuss this.
Yes.
And I have to, Derek, help me with this. Brian, help me with this. And then when it comes to her, it is a whole nother set of trying to make sure that she's solid with her self-esteem, trying to make sure that this erratic behavior calms down. She had a huge episode during volleyball this week. It was horrifying. I'm pretty sure her sugar dropped, but if that wasn't attached to her sugar, and that's where we're at right now, we have problems, because it was awful. I mean, I cried the whole night and the whole next day for my child. We're still putting the pieces together. And yet, it's teenage behavior.
Right. And I want to point out one of the other things you did with the research. You brought up something, and I'm reading the quote as we sit here, but I want you to read it. The JCBN International School.
You read it. I read the last one.
Okay.
This is a good one. I pulled these because these, to me, explain so much.
It's a glimpse into the teenage world is how it's titled. Teenagers face real concerns between 13 and 19 years of age on a daily basis, as this is the most awkward growth stage of their lives. And we just talked about that. During this time, teens are exposed to some overwhelming external and internal struggles they go through and are expected to cope with hormonal changes, puberty, social and parental forces, work and school pressures, and so on. Many teens feel misunderstood. It is vital that their feelings and thoughts are validated, and the validation comes from the parents. Parents need to approach their children who have been dealing with teenage growth issues carefully and in a friendly manner to discuss these concerns.
I need to underline carefully.
Yeah.
Let me give a little story about what happened this morning. So she's grumpy anyways. Don't know why. She should have been fine. They won their game last night. We took her to dinner. She got her phone back after being in trouble. I mean, she wakes up and she's trying to leave the house, and she has on sweatpants, which are fine. And she has on socks, and then she puts on white Birkenstocks. First of all, it's after Labor Day. She can't wear white Birkenstocks, but I don't address that. What I address is, why do you have on sweatpants and Birkenstocks and a Lululemon shirt? Nothing made any sense. But you have to tread lightly. You have to tread carefully, right, as this paragraph. So I look at her, and I said, where are your tennis shoes? And she was like, I'm wearing this. Man, this is what I'm wearing. Don't tell me. Listen. You look ridiculous. And there are things that I will absolutely sugarcoat. Okay. I speak very frankly anyways, and I can rub people the wrong way, but I have learned with her. If she cried at Dollywood because she says, how does my bun look? And I go, oh, you have a messy bun. Messy? It's not messy. I didn't want a messy bun. And she flipped out. We had to stop everything we were doing and take a brush and make a not messy bun. So again, I understand treading lightly. But I couldn't let her go to school like that. And you were walking out the door. You drive her in the mornings. Yes. And I said, no, sweatpants, tennis shoes. Where are your Adidas? Where are the tennis shoes? And she just, you said she didn't say a word the whole way to school. Grumpy. Nope. And she looked ridiculous.
I said the same thing to her. I said, when mom says these things, it's not to just say it for the sake of saying it. There is a purpose behind that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't want to talk. She didn't want to do anything.
Anyway, tread carefully. This is our daily. I mean, so anyway. All right. I want to do one quick overview because I've dug into where my kids are at. And now I just want to read the list for everybody whose children are coming up. Here's why I'm stressing all this. I was very naive. When my kids were little, you could not have told me that this stage was going to look like this. Right? I mean, you don't know it until you're in it. And so listen to me. Let me tell you, these problems are real, and all this is going to have. With my daughter, and some of these are and I would say number one is self-esteem and body image. But my son too, he's really skinny. He hasn't hit, the second puberty spurt. Mm-hmm. He wants to gain weight. He feels smaller than the other kids. So the boys feel it just like the girls do. Stress.
Yes, I agree with that. You want me to read the...
Go ahead.
Okay,
yeah.
Bullying.
We've talked about that in some regards, but just to say they're mean.
Yeah.
Middle school, fifth grade it really started, but 6th, 7th, 8th, it comes out. Do you know what they are bullying my son for right now? Or maybe not bullying. Maybe not bullying. What he's known for?
No telling.
His Adam's apple is too big.
Well,
That's
there's
the
nothing
stuff.
you can do about that.
They can't help that. He is getting picked on for the size of his Adam's apple. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I don't know that I've ever really paid
I didn't even
attention
notice,
to
and he's
that.
my own child.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest. Okay, go ahead.
Depression, which is a serious topic that goes completely different level that we need to have another show about that alone.
We could. And we
Cyber
probably
addiction.
Will. Well, that's
another
real.
one.
Keeping them
Yeah.
off the tablets. My son would game 24/7
The exposure
if he
to
could.
things from cyber addiction.
Oh, yes.
Drinking and smoking, which will come later.
Well, for
unfortunately.
us, teen pregnancy, that will come. Underage sex. These are all on the list. This is not my list, but just because I'm not there does not mean it's not right around the corner.
Right. Defiant behaviors.
I've got that.
Peer pressure and competition.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. And there are many more things you could put on this list, but those are just some examples of things that kids nowadays deal with. And again, I go back to cyber addiction. We didn't have that element as kids for us, but when we were coming up, but it is a tremendous hurdle for kids now to deal with cyber addiction.
Yeah, it's a whole
The
different...
bullying with cyber addiction, the bullying that
Yeah.
comes from cell phones and tablets.
A big part of it, too, is what they see. Let's say somebody snaps and there's a whole bunch of them together and your kid has been left out. Back in the day, you wouldn't find out till school or,
Right.
or not, maybe not at all.
The old-fashioned
Now
handing a
it's-
note around to
Yeah,
everybody.
It's instant. Whose birthday party or who did this?
Why wasn't
or-
I on that thread?
Yeah. Yeah.
They must be talking about me because I'm not on that thread.
Right. Very, very hurtful. All right. How to help. I promised before we went to break that we would explain and go through some tips. These are for me, right? This is my show. I'm learning all this as I go.
Yeah.
This is a big thing at home right now. It is so at the forefront of my life. I haven't even been blogging. And you know why? Because blogging takes time. But these teenagers... I only get one shot at this. I got
agree.
2 of them, and we're just at the beginning. And if I don't navigate this right, I can't even talk. It's like, are they going to go left or are they going to go right?
Yeah.
That's how it feels. It's to the point where, I love to travel, but I'm not even wanting to travel without them. I'm, you're like, when can we get away? I'm like, when they're gone. When they're 18, Derek.
Yes.
When they're 18, we can get away, okay? And we will. But it's really nerve-wracking for me. I have a lot of anxiety about being away from them. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's normal. I would put that out there to the other moms and parents listening. Is that normal? Did you have teenagers and you just didn't want to pull away for the sake of the navigation? They're finding their way through the problems, finding their way through their physical health.
You're afraid of what can happen when you're not there.
Yeah, the decision making, but I'm not a helicopter parent either.
No, you're not.
I'm
You're not.
pushing them into situations, into sports and to be with your friends. Go do this. I'll drop you off here. I'll do, I want them to go do things. I don't want them under my thumb, so to speak. But I just want to be there if they need me. And right now it's so much.
Yeah.
It's so much. All right, how to help. What's the first thing?
Take care of yourself.
Well,
because you can't take care of anybody else till you take care of yourself.
100%. And I felt like that when we had this huge explosion on Monday at volleyball. I didn't want to do a thing on Tuesday. I was in the dumps.
You're physically and mentally drained completely.
But I went for a walk. I'm in a women's Bible study that I love. I chatted with women. Those are the things that make me feel better. And I did all of those things and did some action items to help her. And by the next day in the afternoon, you even said, you're like, you sound better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it was noticeable.
I took care of myself. But that's just one little example.
Next would be understand their stress, not your stress, but
Right.
their stress.
Their stress. Yeah.
What are they? The signs of irritability, the things that are pushing them over the edge, so to speak.
Yeah.
Could be homework, could be chores, could be friends, could be girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be. Next would be acknowledge emotions.
This one's huge for my daughter. If she wants acknowledgement more than she wants anything else, even when she's being erratic, when her sugar is down and she's spiraling, all I try to do is shush her. And just to diffuse the situation, like, shh, I know, eat this applesauce, drink this orange juice, come on. When you try to shush her, she will go crazy. And let's just say it's not a sugar issue.
We call it poking the bear.
Let's just say it's an issue, not a glucose issue. You can't. They have to be able to express how they feel. They want you to understand it, and they want you to acknowledge it. And at that point, everything will start leveling off.
And along with that is encouraging their self-compassion.
Treating yourself kindly when things don't go well. And that's going to happen. I mean, sportsmanship, grades, let's say you study for a test and they don't do well. You know, you can't come down hard on them if they've done the work. Now, if they don't study and they blew it off, there's, parenting things to go with that. But that's what I mean by the amount that this takes, the amount of focus and attention, because they're going through all this, and this is the stage that's going to shape who they are.
And they look to you as mom or dad to be able to help get through that.
This next one, seek help. And I have had to do that. I sought out a therapist for her at the beginning of last year when this behavior was just, the highs and lows were so extreme. And my son going into high school was complaining or upset about being bullied, and it was asking, he was articulating that he was having anxiety. And I sought out someone for him. And it was the best thing I could have done, because I can navigate all this, but I'm not a counselor and I'm not a therapist. And within a few weeks, they both seemed like they were up on solid ground. Now, do they need somebody now? Not, she might, but I don't know.
I like the next one, encouraging volunteering.
I love that.
Because when you encourage the kid to volunteer,
Yep.
it exposes them to so many things that they may not be exposed to otherwise. Feeding the hungry, helping with handing out food bags and things of that nature with charitable organizations, churches. It gets them involved.
Absolutely. I love when their sports teams do it.
Yeah, that too.
Right?
Absolutely.
All of it. I would go encourage asking for help, whether you can encourage your children to do that or if you need to do that yourself. Like I said, I seek out my friends. I seek out professional help. I'm working with doctors for both of my kids, one for her for hypoglycemia and one for him, to whatever the help looks like. I am a problem solver. That's the way I work. If something happens, okay, how do we begin to unpack this problem?
Identify the issue and then address it.
Yeah.
And the last one is avoiding comparisons, which that's tough as a parent to sometimes do. When your kid misbehaves or your kid acts like they shouldn't, and there's another kid there, well, why can't you be like so-and-so? You're not intending to insult your kid or belittle your kid, but it's watch what they do, behave like they do. And the kid can be very
really
upset
challenging
and set off by that.
Yeah. Having a son who's not an athlete, who's more of a gamer, and I don't have a neighbor with a football player, but let's just say, and then you have the next door neighbor who's the quarterback and,
it could even
always
be siblings.
having parties, or I don't know what the situation is, but whatever the comparison is that would make your heart sink.
Yeah, your brother's not like that. Your sister's not like that.
And you can't. I mean, I have learned this is who my kid is. G is an introvert. I'm an extrovert. G needs more time at home. I get very little time at home. I just have to understand these things and just love him through it and not push him too hard, give him enough time to recharge his batteries, and yet push him and say, you have to find a sport. You have to do something. You have to find a friend group. I mean, there are healthy ways to push, and then there is too much. And I try every day with every decision to really sit in that pocket and find that balance.
And there are many, many other ways we can help, but those are just some very good examples of what you can do to help your your child through the teen years, the difficult times. But I do want to, in the interest of time, and I hate to do this, I always hate doing this, but let's kind of wrap this up with
We
some
have to.
very good points that I want you to give your listeners.
And this, like I said, this whole show, this can be to be continued. If you have feedback for me, send it to me. If you have advice for me, if you have questions for me, let's unpack this more. This is an overview. This is a brief little glimpse into the ages of my kids and life at home for us. And they're only going to get older, and this is only going to get more challenging for the years to come. Again, you can always reach me, statuslifewithleta@gmail.com. What else, Derek? You're the sponsor of the show. You're my
Yes.
husband. I'm the director of marketing and communications for the firm. If you have been hurt or injured in any way and you need legal representation, maybe if you don't even know if you need legal representation, Derek is here. The door is always open. Derek answers every single call. If you have a question for him, as easily as you can get me, you can get Derek. We are here for you guys. This is why we do this.
Right. So follow the podcast, like the podcast, subscribe to the
Thank
podcast,
you.
all those things. Check out Status Life with Leta on all the platforms. And as always, thank you very much for joining us on Status Life with Leta, presented by Business RadioX, Derek Hayes Law, and 5 Strands Affordable Testing. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and Leta's Instagram, Status Life with Leta, so you don't miss any upcoming shows. This program and all the other shows are available in your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, for Leta Brooks Hayes, I'm Derek Hayes, and you're listening to Status Life with Leta on Business RadioX.